Bienvenidos, Parque Nacional Isla de Cabras.
Alright, welcome to my channel. Today's a little different. I wanted to include some of my travels that inspired this drawing. The sea is a terrifying place. On this particular day, I walked about 8 miles across San Juan. I took a ferry to Catano. I took a bus to Palo Seco, and I walked a few miles up the peninsula to Isla de Cabras.
The rain is coming, there's no doubt about it now.
It's a national park with some old fortress ruins, and that's actually what I went to Puerto Rico to see. I wanted to see old fortress ruins and see if I could find inspiration for illustrations.
I made it to the end of the earth. At least one of the ends of Puerto Rico, I guess. How many ends does an island have? All the edges, I guess.
Got pretty sunburned. I spent several days just walking from sunrise to sunset.
Oh, I'm so thirsty, I just want to dive in. I want to dive in head first right onto that rock. Just dive in with my mouth open. Drink the whole ocean. And then fly away like a bird to another dimension.
Honestly, it's like there was so much to look at. I didn't know what I was going to focus on.
Goodbye, soldier kitty.
On my hike back, I was just completely overwhelmed by the sound of nature. The frog chirping was so loud, I couldn't believe it.
I don't know if you can see these red streetlights, but these are awesome. I don't know why they're red. But I like it.
And so that's what I'm doing today, is a little drawing of a coquí. Alright, so this is the second day I've ever used my drawing tablet, and the first day that I've ever used this microphone. So bear with me, it's hard to learn new things. So as you can see, I started my sketch treating it like it were a pencil drawing on real paper. Because I know that drawing tablets have infinite possibilities. There's so many brushes and so many tools and so many ways to approach working. But I'm really not there yet. I'm not sure how to use this thing in the best way. So I wanted to start off with something familiar, and I treated this drawing like a regular pencil drawing on real paper. And so what you see here is I have several layers already set up. I have a gray background, which is not part of the actual drawing. It's just kind of like a base color to start with. Because one of my favorite things in regular drawing is chiaroscuro. And that's where you start with a middle tone paper and you use dark marks and light marks to establish form. Chiaroscuro means light and dark. So on one layer I've got dark marks, and on a second layer I have all my light marks. Oh, I didn't talk about the my little green alignment grid. I use that specifically for my Sisagonia drawings to place things into three-dimensional space in a way that's consistent, so that the angles of all my objects or my sprites or my characters, my little critters, whatever you want to call them, they can all be interoperable and they all work together in a cohesive way. That's the goal, at least. over the years. As I create more assets, I want them to actually be able to seamlessly merge together. So here I am employing a technique I learned a long time ago now. It's kind of like stick figures and ellipses, which represent where joints come together, or little circles to represent things like, the fingertips here, ellipses for the elbows, the knees, the hips, and then you just you use the stick figure to align the body's posture, position, and then the ellipses help you determine the thickness, and then you create undulations. They say, go around, find outside edges, and that helps you kind of create like the shape and the form, the figure of your subject. So as I was going along now, kind of adding these highlights, I really wasn't sure what I was doing. It seemed really harsh, like it just kind of not looking too good. The more I kind of messed with this, the more I realized I wanted to treat it like, almost like graffiti, and try and create some more expressive line work with bigger brushes, kind of squiggly, zigzaggy lines. And right about now, I started to realize that it was working. You can see the form kind of emerging now, and not looking so flat or too much like a skeleton. So at this point, I was actually kind of happy with it. All right, get that centered. Now I can go in and start doing my shadows and giving this thing some full form. So again, like I was saying, chiaroscuro. Now I'm going through and adding my shadows and starting to add texture, so that the flesh of this frog actually looks kind of like slick and mottled. Maybe not warty, but like little bumps and blemishes, while still maintaining the loose gestural marks, as if it were like some graffiti on a wall. During my travels, I saw a lot of graffiti in Philadelphia when I went to Graffiti Pier, and also all over the place in Puerto Rico. It's kind of a really festive and colorful place full of art. It was really cool. So yeah, I'm not trying to be too photographic. I kind of like when artwork looks like artwork. You can see the maker's mark. You can see all the brush strokes. That's why graffiti is cool, because it's done in haste, and you can see. You kind of had to be more subtle and ingenious. By this point, I was actually really starting to get into it, and I found it entertaining. At first, a lot of what I was doing, it felt kind of strained, and like I said, it's difficult to use a new tool. To learn new things can be frustrating. It's only day 2 with this new tool, so I'm trying to just create something that's fun and expressive, and I want the line work to show. I want it to look sketchy on purpose. It's kind of fun just like stippling and adding texture.
I guess you would call a lot of my brushwork to be like cross contour, where if I can, put little arcs in my lines, I do, because that helps to express the curvature of the form. So as you can see, like in the arms, there's just the smallest hint of like curvature. And I found too that kind of the bigger brush strokes helped to make the frog look shiny and slick and wet, or moist, aquatic, amphibious. Alright, so I'm getting pretty close to feeling like this little guy is done, as far as the black and the white mark making goes. So here I am erasing some of the guidelines I had drawn. I didn't want to completely eliminate the sketchy quality.
So at this point, I exported my drawing with no background, no body color. I put it into Photoshop so that I could take the channels and shift them, the red, green, and blue channels, shift them around so that it started to create like a psychedelic color to it, like rainbow iridescent colors. And that wasn't meant to be the finished product, but what I wanted was something to use as almost like an underpainting, so that when I go to color it, it has more chromatic variation to it than it would if it were just black and white. So just messing around with things here to get a base layer that looks a little bit more exciting.
So here I am messing around with the channels, kind of transposing them left and right and up and down to create like a kind of like a default rainbow psychedelic palette to it. And it's not colored at this point how I'd like it to be. It's just kind of a more interesting start. It's a more interesting jump off point than black and white. So now I go back into Krita, import my psychedelic rainbow frog, create a new layer, and start creating like a base tone underneath my drawing. This was kind of like fun. It felt like magic. And this started to he just started to look really fun, friendly, and happy. Felt like I had done my job. The happy guy. So the end goal with this guy was to create a little character for a t-shirt design. I put him back in Photoshop. And because all of this is centered around my experiences in Puerto Rico and the inspiration that I went there to find, that's what this guy is all about. And it's kind of funny, I didn't know it until afterwards that the Coquí is kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like the mascot of Puerto Rico. Also the loudest amphibian on Earth. Which is why Bad Bunny probably used it as a character in his new album. And surprisingly small. I guess they fit right on your fingertip. I had read that they had become endangered, and now they've released like hundreds of thousands of them back into the wilderness, so that's cool. Alright, there it is. That took me one evening. I'm starting to feel a little bit more familiar with my drawing tablet. This was day 2. But I realized I wasn't finished with this yet. Because it's a PNG file, it has an alpha channel, and I realized that the frog itself in my file here was actually kind of hollow. It had a bunch of, negative space inside of its body. And I didn't want it to have problems when I sent it away for printing, so I decided to go back in and start filling it in and giving it a background that's kind of masked to the shape of the frog. So this is like a mask layer, or like a background that I can put behind everything else. I also made one really big change there, and that was to put that base color that I'd originally used on the bottom layer, and I moved that to the top and used it just as a normal mixture, a normal layering with a 50% opacity. And that made the whole thing look a lot more vivid and a lot more true to the color that I wanted it to be. And so now I'm done. I think that's finished enough for this project. If you'd like to support me as an artist and a content creator, hit the like button, leave a comment, and check out my online store. The link is in the description below. I'll be posting my travel videos shortly, so subscribe to follow my adventures. I hope you enjoyed seeing my creative process, and I appreciate you watching. Later, weirdos.